I'm Tommy Salmons, and this is Year Zero. It is Wednesday morning. I'm still drinking my coffee, and I've been talking about giving an update on this Epstein shit, which I don't really have a lot of original shit to say about, I don't guess, but I do think it's important that we look at the history of what got us to this point. So in the early 2000s, I think it was 2005, a 14-year-old girl showed up at her trailer park and with a wad of cash. Her parents asked where she got the cash. She told her that some rich guy gave it to her for giving a massage and sexual favors. This opened up a whole can of worms. This rich guy turned out to be Jeffrey Epstein, as you might have guessed. So an investigation moved forward. Come to find out, Jeffrey Epstein had been not only paying young girls to have sex with him and under the guise that they were just going to come and give some rich pervert a massage, he had talked the girls into procuring other young girls for him. And there were a lot of rumors. I think the girl's name is Victoria Guffrey. There are a lot of rumors that Victoria Guffrey had named a lot of other people, including Jeffrey Epstein's personal assistant, Ghislaine Maxwell, or Ghislaine Maxwell. I've heard it said so many different ways. I have no idea. She has a fucking weird name, and that's all there is to it. She was Robert Maxwell's daughter. Robert Maxwell has been linked with Mossad as an agent of Mossad, and he killed himself by jumping off the back of a yacht while naked. It was pretty suspicious circumstances. Don't really know if he was drugged and or drunk or thrown or what. I mean, it's one of those stories that just kind of dies, that you never really get the full, story. You never hear everything. And so all the details just kind of get buried with this 24-hour news cycle. People have a really, really short attention span, and they seem to forget these things within a week, unless the media is constantly reminding them. And so there's serious failure in cases of this nature by the public. But setting that aside, so Robert Maxwell, tied to Mossad, had killed himself. His daughter worked as an assistant for Jeffrey Epstein. And she was considered a co-conspirator. But when Jeffrey Epstein was charged, part of the non-prosecutorial deal that was signed was that no co-conspirator would be named or prosecuted. And so what happened was she got away scot-free. Jeffrey Epstein ended up pleading to a charge of soliciting prostitution, and didn't even mention the girls' ages, and he got 13 months in, I think it was a county facility, and he was able to leave for like 12 hours a day, 6 days a week or 7 days a week, to go home and work from home and be at his mansion, except for 12 hours at night. So he got this really sweetheart deal. And when Alex Acosta, who was involved in the case, in 2006, was interviewing to be the labor secretary under Trump, he was asked about the case, and Acosta said that he was told that they needed to go ahead with the deal because Epstein belonged to intelligence and it was above his pay grade. So obviously there was some sort of cover up going on, and this isn't the first time there's been a cover up. This isn't the first time a pedophile has entered prison with ties to government and gotten out, gotten off with a lot of leniency. You can look at the Franklin scandal. You can look at Dennis Hastert. There have been many instances of this. Jimmy Savile, everybody knew about Jimmy Savile for decades, and nobody reported on it until after he died. These things continue to go on within the political arena, and it's part of the reason why people were so willing to jump on the Pizzagate idea, is because they understand that Hillary Clinton has friends that have been arrested for child trafficking, and Hillary Clinton has gotten them sweetheart deals. They understand that Hillary Clinton has laughed about getting a pedophile and a rapist off in a court case and was never held accountable for it. So people are willing to make these leaps and tie these and connect these dots that maybe don't actually connect, or maybe connect in abstract ways, in order to, because they feel like they are uncovering these evils and these pedophile rings, so to speak, that much of the powerful elite around the world are involved in. This is not some secret. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not only a possibility, a plausibility, but it is an absolute in many cases. Okay? So Jeffrey Epstein, Mike Cernovich, and the Miami Herald, Julie Brown, and she wrote a lot of articles on the Epstein case and what had happened with Epstein, and she got into grave detail, did a lot of research. But they filed a FOIA suit, Freedom of Information Act, in order to unseal the documents from the lawsuits, from the civil suits against Jeffrey Epstein. And so Victoria Guffrey was one of these women that had filed a lawsuit because they were getting no retribution with this 13-month, jail sentence that he didn't even truly serve. So when they go through these lawsuits, and unlike any other civil suit in history, these documents get sealed just miraculously. So Mike Cernovich and the Miami Herald spent, I guess, about 2 years getting these documents unsealed. And I guess it was last Friday, these documents were finally released after the courts had put it off for a few months. But in the meantime, the Southern District of New York and the Department of Justice indicted Jeffrey Epstein. They locked him up in the MCC facility, which is a facility known for holding El Chapo and criminals of that nature. I think John Gotti was there at one time. So it's a federal facility that holds high value prisoners, and it has been reported that this prison is more surveilled and has tighter security than even Guantanamo Bay, by a prisoner that has been both in Guantanamo Bay and the MCC. So I don't know. I guess it was about a week after Epstein got there, he was found on the floor with bruising around his neck. And I think it was officially ruled a suicide attempt, but he did not die. Now, Epstein insisted that somebody tried to kill him. He insisted that somebody had tried to kill him and that he did not try to commit suicide. Now, it gets a little fuzzy here because the timeline has gotten all kinds of screwed up, and I'm not sure which reports to go by. But between 6 and 15 days after he was put on suicide watch, he was taken off of suicide watch for some unknown reason. I've heard reports that his attorneys requested he taken off of suicide watch, but I don't have any. There's nothing out there that's hard evidence that shows this is true. I haven't read any statements from his attorneys, so I'm not real sure. But if you take a look at the documents, and there were thousands of documents unsealed from just the Jeffery case, you'll notice that she names Ghislaine Maxwell, she names Alan Dershowitz, she names Governor of New Mexico at the time, Bill Richardson, she names Prince Andrew, and quite a few other rich and powerful people, some politicians, some not, some CEOs, that Epstein had pimped her out to during a 2-year period between 2000 and 2002. I haven't dug any further than into her case, because that's what the majority of that's what the documents are covering, is her civil suit. But these are very high profile people with lots of power around the world. Definitely have the reach and the influence and the connections to get to an enemy target in a federal prison. There's no doubt about it, right? Especially Prince Andrew. All these guys have the money and the influence to be able to get to Epstein in prison. So after Epstein was taken off of suicide watch, his roommate was then taken out of the cell. And the day after all these documents dropped, he was found dead. The morning after, he was found, well, he wasn't dead apparently he wasn't dead yet, but he died shortly thereafter at the hospital. Now, the media is having a conniption fit because they don't have control of the narrative here. They want the New York Times wrote that he apparently attempted suicide before the media outlets, CNN, MSNBC, and all these places started trying to make it look like it was definitely suicide. The autopsy revealed that they couldn't determine what the cause of death was. At least at this point, that's what the autopsy has said. Inconclusive. And more reports have come out about the evening or the morning of Epstein's death. At 8:30, what was it, Monday night or Sunday night? I can't remember if it was Monday. I think it was Sunday night. 8:30 Sunday night, there was a report that the inmates near Epstein's cell heard nothing, and that it was apparent suicide. Still nobody has given conclusive evidence of this. But then Monday morning, there were reports by ABC and Zero Hedge and some other places that inmates in cells near Epstein heard shrieking coming from Epstein's cell, while guards supposedly trying to save his life were shouting, "Breathe, Epstein, breathe." I don't know, it sounds to me, I think Tim Pool said this as well, but it sounds to me that somebody's choking the life out of somebody, and in order to get the people around you to think that you're trying to save his life, you're yelling, "Breathe, Epstein, breathe." But I don't know. Otherwise, other reports have shown that somebody that appears to have been one of the EMTs that was working on Epstein during his time in the ambulance and at the hospital reported his death on 4chan an hour prior to the mainstream media getting a hold of the story. And now the media is saying that 4chan needs to be shut down because they're getting scoops before the media is. And how dare you get in the way of the media doing the job of being the gatekeepers of information and all that is true and right in the world. But other than that, there's not a whole lot of information. There was a passport that was found in Epstein's safe with a different name. It had Epstein's picture, but it had a different name, and it was a Saudi Arabia passport. There's a lot of reports that he was possibly Mossad, given Alex Acosta saying that he belonged to intelligence. But really nobody was surprised by his death. Everybody knew he was going to end up dead. Now, if you want to believe it was a suicide, fine. But if it were a suicide, the parameters had to be set for the suicide to take place. So if it were a suicide, it was either incompetence or corruption. All right? Incompetence in the fact that the cameras apparently weren't working, as far as everything I've heard. None of the cameras were working, or the camera near Epstein's cell weren't working. And the guards that are supposed to check on the inmates, you're supposed to have 2 rotating guards that check on the inmates every every 15 minutes or so. So apparently they weren't doing their job, right? So either somebody got to those guards and had those cameras turned off, or there was just a complete breakdown within the system. A system that is supposed to be better secure and better surveilled than Guantanamo Bay. Other reports have shown that the FBI and the New York Police Department, NYPD, have raided Epstein's island since his death. This happened on Monday. I believe that there was counted that there were 12 FBI agents. And it has also been reported that Ghislaine Maxwell has revealed to somebody, to a friend of hers, that every inch, every piece of that island was videotaped at all times. And that anything that took place on that island, there are copies of, there are videos of, there are pictures of. So this brings people to the how did Epstein make his money? There have been reports from hedge fund managers and other financial whatever, I don't know, accountant, I'm not even accountant, I don't know. The people that keep records of all the hedge funds and all the trading that's going on, whatever the fuck you call those fucking assholes. There have been reports that have come out that show no record of Epstein working in the financial market in any way, shape, or form. And so people are believing that this is some sort of cover-up, and this was a cover operation in which Epstein was a Mossad agent or a CIA agent or both, and he was blackmailing powerful people in order to have influence over the policy, business, and their finances. And this is how he made his money. Perfectly reasonable to think, to speculate such a thing is possible. These powerful people are depraved and sick individuals. This is no secret. This is not something that has not been well documented over the years. I mean, you can go back as far as Julius Caesar and see sexual depravity and so I don't see these people that want to defend the Clintons or defend Trump or whatever. I don't understand their point of view. Now, as far as the documents go that were released, Trump has been exonerated, which means that he wasn't named, he wasn't pinpointed, he wasn't fingered in any of this. As far as Victoria Giuffre is concerned. It's also been reported that when Trump, there was an instance, and this was in James Patterson's book, prior to Trump becoming president of the United States, this book was released. So I don't see any political motive here for James Patterson, especially since he just wrote a book and released a book with Bill Clinton. I don't think that he has any sort of motive politically to say this, but he, in his book, he detailed that there was an instance at Mar-a-Lago. Jeffrey Epstein had sexually assaulted one of the members of Mar-a-Lago's daughter. And from that point on, Trump banned him from Mar-a-Lago and had nothing else to do with him. So I don't know. It seems like a plausibility, like Trump is all about his businesses, even though he is um, definitely into women. He is all about his businesses. So I don't think he would jeopardize his business for Jeffrey Epstein's perverted fantasies. William Barr has come out and said that they will continue to investigate, and based upon the raid that the FBI and NYPD did on Epstein's Island on Monday, I see no reason to doubt this. But William Barr said they will continue to investigate, and they hope, or they're planning on taking down any co-conspirators. Now that last part, I have a problem with. I don't think it's going to happen. Okay, these people, these obvious sociopaths, these obvious criminals with these political ties, do not get held accountable. It doesn't happen. This isn't the way that the American system works anymore. The bureaucracy controls everything. The national security state is in control of everything. They are not going to, number one, unless William Barr shows up with something on Peter Strzok, James Comey, or Brennan from this investigating the investigators on this Trump-Russia bullshit, I have no more faith in the Department of Justice than I did yesterday, right? Maybe it's the Q people want to say, oh, we've been telling you that these are the things, and I just don't buy it. Like, I don't buy it. I don't see the ties here that are showing me that William Barr is any different than any other attorney general that's ever been in that position. William Barr, under George H.W. Bush, didn't fucking go back and investigate Iran-Contra and start prosecuting people for Iran-Contra, including George H.W. Bush. And I don't see him changing his allegiances to the FBI and to the bureaucracy. I just don't see it happening. So you can hope, and I hope for the best. I just expect the worst. I don't expect anything to come of this. I expect very few people to face any repercussions whatsoever. Unless, and this is a big unless there are people that are so disgusted by what they find, they start leaking the information. And if this information leaks to WikiLeaks or The Intercept or any of these other platforms that have some respectability, that have good track records as far as leaks go, The Guardian, unless these things start happening during this process, I truly do not believe that anything is going to come of it. Because still to this day, every person that saw through the conspiracy theory of Trump-Russia is still wanting to know, who is Joseph Mifsud? I'm Tommy Salmons. Late.